I'm a big fan of the writings of Henry David Thoreau. My favorite work of his is unknown by most readers. It's a series of journal entries published after his death in which he makes observations about the seeds of wild plants. He's fascinated by seeds and writes that I have great faith in a seed. He goes on to describe how seeds are dispersed by wind and water and animals, and he marvels about how even the mightiest oak tree begins as a tiny acorn. Now, you can interpret that metaphorically, that small efforts build up to become grand accomplishments. You know, like a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But I also like a literal interpretation. Seeds have great potential. The oak quote that I like best goes something like this. An oak tree is an acorn's way of making another acorn. Sure enough, an acorn is a seed, and far from being insignificant and inert, it's just as much a living organism as the oak tree is. Seeds are alive, and they have the potential for growing into the plants we depend upon for food, shelter, clothing, etc. It's amazing what's inside even a tiny seed. It's almost inconceivable that all of the genetic instructions needed for the growth and development of orchids, arguably the most complex floral structures on all of planet Earth, are inside a seed that's smaller than a grain of salt. Think about that. Now, like many gardeners, I'm obsessed with the seeds that grow into garden plants. Again, the potential. I get super excited when the colorful seed catalogs arrive in the mail in the middle of cold, dreary winter. I fantasize about a lush green garden. I envision spectacular early harvests. I imagine biting into a perfectly ripe tomato, still warm from the summer sun. And then, in early spring, when the seed pack displays sprout up in stores, I stand there reading the packs and choosing the varieties I like the best and the ones that I've had the most success growing. I head to the cashier, rattling the packs of seeds with anticipation. Faith in a seed, indeed. When it comes to planting seeds, it's done easily enough, but successful germination is far from guaranteed. Each type of seed has its own particular requirements. They need to be planted at just the right depth, in soil that has just the right amount of moisture, and just the right pH, and at a temperature that's ideal for them to sprout. Some seeds, like spinach and lettuce, can germinate at temperatures just above freezing. Other seeds, like squashes and okra, can sprout at temperatures over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And there's a predictable relationship between germination temperature and time. A tomato can germinate at low temperatures, but it takes more than a month to do so. At an optimum, warmer temperature, the same seed will sprout in less than a week. The seeds of most garden plants have optimal germination temperature at around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, once they sprout, the tiny seedlings are so delicate and vulnerable. This is where the gardener becomes as patient as a monk and as gentle as a lamb. We're like midwives, helping the first leaves emerge from the soil. We might move aside the bigger soil clumps, and occasionally remove the seed coat that's stuck to a cotyledon. May I take your coat, madam? Even watering a seedling can be tricky. If the water pushes the seedling down and sticks it to the wet dirt, it'll suffocate. That's right, suffocate. The tiny leaves have microscopic holes in them called stomata, through which oxygen and carbon dioxide gas exchange occurs. A matted down seedling can't breathe, so to speak. And so we mist and we prop up and we dote over our babies. And then there's the most difficult thing a gardener has to do, and that's thinning. Damn, how it hurts to kill a perfectly healthy seedling. Now, left clustered together, seedlings will compete with each other for sunlight, nutrients, and water. The end result will be reduced overall plant growth and thus reduced vegetable yields. And so we become reapers of the very babies we doted over, pinching surplus seedlings between our fingernails or cutting them off at the base with tiny scissors. But they don't need to go to waste. With many garden plants, I collect the thinned out seedlings and eat them like microgreens or sprouts. Even the smallest radish leaves still have that familiar zing on the tongue. As the surviving seedlings put out more leaves and thicker stems, we get past the nursery stage and forget all about seeds. Instead, we eagerly watch the plants grow and mature. We harvest and we feast. But alas, the end is near. The senescent plants wither and die, having poured their energy into the fruits and vegetables we harvested. Some gardeners save seeds, but most don't. They have faith that next year the seeds will be readily available for purchase. When I work with seeds, I always think of Thoreau and his faith in seeds. I ponder the literal and metaphorical meanings of that faith, and I realize that to plant a seed today is to believe in tomorrow.